Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Office Hours. I'm glad you can join me today. I'm Matthew Groves, and before we get started, what I thought I'd do is give a quick shout out to some of my recent activities, recent followers, and subscribers, and so on. So, this last week we've got, hey, Surly Dev, glad you're here. Shout out to Surly Dev, one of my moderators. But Tail Learn Code resubscribed for a month at tier 1. So well, my green screen's getting out of whack. There we go. I need to move my camera, I think. There we go. Taylor and nope. Gosh. I'm looking at delayed video. I think that might be the problem. Okay. There we go. So Taylor and Code subscribed for a month. We got Napalm684 with a follow. Thank you. Holla Holla We Dem Boys, or Ola Ola We Dem Boys, followed 3 days ago. Thank you. One Chief Raka for the follow. Thank you very much. When did you become a mod here? Isn't that like giving a poacher a gamekeeper job? I don't know when you became a mod or why I gave you a mod. I guess you were just inevitable. Finite Singularity gave me a shout out 3 days ago. Thank you very much for that. Finite Singularity. Rated him a couple of times. And Nicholas Coes with the latest follow 18 hours ago. Not even while I was streaming. So thank you for that, Nicholas Codes. Still not my green screen. Okay, need to go this way. All right, there we go. Okay, so what are we working on today? Well, we're continuing on the real world coding project, the Conduit Project. Hopefully you were around for some trivia. Make sure to submit your own trivia questions. Otherwise, it's just me using ChatGPT to generate new trivia questions. So Conduit, let's do a quick recap. It's been a while. What the heck is Conduit? What the heck is the real world project? All right, well, let's start here. realworlddocs.netlify.app. I'll put this right in the chat there. This is an attempt to make demo apps more applicable to real world situations. All right, so there's plenty of to-do lists out there. There's plenty of hello worlds. The idea with this project is that you use a real framework, a full framework, hour? What did I say? Did I say hour for something? Anyway, so the idea here is to build a real world demo app that can help you fully understand the full capacity of a framework, of a language, etc. Our attempt. Okay, well, I mean, technically I'm not like a member, like a maintainer of this project, but I am contributing to it, so let's just go with our on that. So let's see, there's a demo right here. So what this is the project that fair enough, the project that they want to implement is called Conduit. And Conduit is a Medium.com clone. So if you're not familiar with Medium.com, it is a blogging / social media type of site. So here's a demo of a clone of Conduit Project. This is all you can see, just placeholder text there. I'll put that link in there as well. And so there is two parts of this project. There's a front end and a back end. The front end is all the UI, HTML, JavaScript that makes this work in the browser. And the back end is all the endpoints that perform the reads and writes and queries of the actual data stored in whatever database you're using. So we can go back to this and we get to contribute here. And so what we have is now a specification, a spec, that says if you want to build a front end or back end, here's how you do it. And I want to show, here we go, this page right here. So this is a list of all the implementations of the app, front end and back end and full stack, that have been created so far. And so you can browse through this. So let's say you are interested in building an app in Elm, and maybe you've done some Hello World or whatever, but you're ready to build something that's more significant than that. So you click on Elm here, and that's a front-end language. So here's the Elm, here's an Elm front end that was implemented by R.T. Feldman. And I don't know much about Elm, but here's the implementation from R.T. Feldman for the front end. Now you can pair that front end with any back end you want to because they all follow the same spec. So I'll say I'm building a back end, and I'm building it in PHP. So now I see, okay, here's a lot of different examples of building the same back end with different with different frameworks and tools, right? So here's two that are Laravel. So two different Laravel examples I can compare and contrast, and it's fine to have two of them in there because there's lots of different ways to use frameworks and backends and platforms. So it would be good to compare and contrast to see how F1 Amy and Alexei Mazenin did their Laravel implementations. Or maybe using Symfony, or maybe I want to learn more about whatever Yi is. Never heard of that before. I'm not super into the PHP world, but I'm guessing that's some sort of web-based backend, API endpoint framework. So I could click on that and learn more about Yi and see if Yi is right for me. And then there's a full stack option, which is everything all together. So these are going to be, I'm not sure how Python is a full stack. Napalm 684, I was just talking about you. Thank you for the follow, and good morning to you. It is morning for me here in the Eastern US time zone. Surly Dev, it's not the morning, I don't think, but good morning to you anyway, Surly Dev. So these are meant to be full stack, which I would expect to all be JavaScript and TypeScript, but there's some other ones. So Elm, maybe, with Hasura, that's interesting. So lots of different options here. So that's what I'm doing, is I am building a new backend for this, because if we go to C# here, there's 3 ASP.NET Core examples, but there is nothing using Couchbase. You met me a few years back at Pittsburgh Tech Fest. Wow, okay, it's been a while since I've been there. Yeah, I do remember going there a couple times. Am I still at Couchbase? Yes, I am. So Couchbase shirt right on here. And that's what I'm working on today, is an ASP.NET Core project with a Couchbase backend, which has not been done yet in the real world project. So there's been ASP.NET with, I think these are Entity Framework, so either SQLite or SQL Server. Microservice, I'm not sure what that uses for a database, but there's nothing here that uses any sort of Couchbase. So if I go to all backend and search for Couchbase, nothing. Certainly is some Mongo options in here. Entity Framework is not mentioned specifically, but probably, and again, well, that's Postgres, right? So, and probably a lot of these, since it's C#, they just assume that it's SQL Server in the back end, right? But they're all, most of them using, so there's some Dynamo examples. Interesting. So C# in AWS Lambdas using Dynamo. Are you still at Pittsburgh there in Napalm? I haven't been there in a while. I did a virtual meetup, Pittsburgh meetup recently. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm working on that backend. And so if we go back here, it tells me all the, it calls them features, I believe. Well, specs. Here we go. So there's the specs for the backend, front end, and mobile. Hour outside Pittsburgh. All right. East, west, north, or south. So a backend, and it just says, okay, here's a Postman collection for you to use. Postman can help me test the API endpoints. Here's all the endpoints. So this is the spec that I have copied into my project. My GitHub project right here is a series of issues, series of cards. So this is all ones I need to do left. These are the ones I've got done. But once I implement all these and make sure that everything is following the right format, error handling, cores, and I've got tests written for it, which has very low expectations for tests, but I'm trying to be more real world. I'm putting in a full suite of integration tests. Once I have that done, then I can submit this to the project and they will list it on their site. So now anyone looking to build something with Couchbase will now see my project in the list. Hour north of Pittsburgh. Yeah, I haven't been to Pittsburgh in a while. I would like to get back there one of these days. I think the last time I was there, I had my family with me. We did like McAllister's Deli sort of thing, and it was just for one day, so we didn't do all that much. So anyway, that's where we are. And today, I've recapped this part. I'm going to finish the update user endpoint. I think we just have some docs to finish there. And then I want to explore using CI with GitHub Workflow. So for my integration tests, I had given up and switched from using Docker to using Couchbase Capella, which is the cloud-based DBaaS version. I would still like to use Docker for integration tests, just so I don't have to have a Capella instance up and running for integration tests. Now, in your real-world project, that might very well be a situation you want to do. But for me, long-term, I prefer to use Docker in there, just so, you know, if for some reason my credentials expire or accidentally delete a Capella instance, or someone else does, or you know, I leave the company or whatever, I win the lottery and quit my job, it'll still work. So I'm going to set that up first to use GitHub Capella, and then I can potentially explore in the future switching it over to using Docker. And then after I get through with that, on to the next endpoint and beyond. So the next one on the list is Git Profile. So, and then we'll continue from there. You can imagine 5, 6, 7, 8 would be all these cards right here. So let's get to it. We're going to open up our project in Visual Studio today, and I just need to add some documentation to the update user endpoint. So just a quick review of what do I mean by documentation. So when I run the backend application, there's actually this nice little Swagger UI that gets generated for me, because I'm not working on the front end, so it's still nice to have a little UI to be able to test and work with these endpoints. So if you notice these, if I click on these, they have some notes here. So this describes what the endpoint does. This links to the Conduit spec. This has, in this case, there's no parameters. Successful login. That's a typo. I need to work on that. Let me just go ahead and find that real quick. Successful login. Yep. It's even squiggled. I still not spell it right? How do I spell successful? Okay, there we go. I'll tell you how you don't spell successful. M-A-T-T. Almost done with my cup of coffee here. I don't know if you can really read this. This is a old mug from Amigala, or Amigala. I'm not really sure. Never been sure how to say it. They've told me multiple times, but I can never remember those things. But this is a organization that puts on developer conferences, and I'll actually be going to one of them soon. The Indie Code Conference. This is in Indianapolis. So Napalm, this is not that bad of a drive for you if you're interested. A few hours west of you. But it's Indianapolis Developer Conference. And I've been here a long time ago. But you can see that, well, first of all, it's not that expensive. These are relatively low cost, kind of community organized conferences. They're a little more on the high end compared to like a code camp sort of thing, but it's not quite a full blown Amazon reInvent either. So here's the list of speakers. Lots of great speakers on here. Michael Eaton, that's great. Glad he's going to be there. Haven't seen him in a while. There's me, Matthew Groves. I'll be talking about caching at Indie Code. But lots of great speakers here. Sam Nazar, Eric Potter. I just saw him at KCDC. Another great speaker. So lots of great content here. And it's Jonathan J. Tower. Seen him a lot as well. Jamie Wright. Yeah, so this is a great lineup of speakers. And let's see, is anybody in Pittsburgh here? Does it list the... just for Victor it does. Okay. Anyway, that is the conference, August 10 and 11, Indianapolis. And it's, the venue is right here. PUI. It's University of Illinois, one of their branches, I guess. So there you go. All right, so fix that typo, but let's just look at another example here. oh yeah, right here. So login credentials, it says email password. There's an example, but if I click on schema, it gives me more details about what that means. So this is more documentation I wanted to add. So email, password gives all the details. So here's what a valid password means. Here's what an email or valid email means, and so on. So if you look at here, these endpoints, you can see these three are documented, but not this one. So that's what I need to work on right now. And this is relatively straightforward to do. So I just have the one controller so far. If you look at users, there's the one controller for all the users and auth stuff. API user. So notice up here that this is where it's pulling most of the documentation from, is these XML comments, XML doc, I think it's called. I set this up earlier so that when I compile this project, it will actually create an XML file, and then Swagger, Swashbuckle, OpenAPI, whatever, actually will look at that XML file and pull it into its UI generation. So configure that already, so that's easy enough to do. So all right, update user is going to make changes to one or more parts of a user's information. Okay, I think that's reasonable. Now I like to put in this remarks and link to the conduit spec. I can put HTML in here. So there's that, and then conduit spec for update user. And I was just talking about the spec over here. Endpoints is update user. Click on that, and there is the URL. Paste that right in there. Okay, now I need response codes. This returns, I believe this returns a user. Response codes. By the way, I think Calvin mentioned possibly using a 201 for the response code instead of 200, which technically I think might be the correct way to go if we're doing a purely HateOS system. If I do a 201, I have to return not only the user, like I'm doing up here, but I have to return basically a URL to go and view that user. So if I was creating a pure HateOS type system, a pure REST API, that would be the way to go. However, the conduit spec, all it says is it needs to return the user. So I don't necessarily need to go above and beyond. And actually doing that might break the API as far as the front end is concerned. I don't know that for sure. I haven't tried front end yet, which is another card I added was to actually, hey, try it. Let's try it with the front ends. Make sure everything works smoothly. So I'm going to leave it 200 for now. Returns the newly registered user. No. Actually, this is wrong. Let's look at that comments being wrong. Can you imagine? Returns the currently logged in user. And that's going to determine that based on the token. Yeah, newly registered. Okay. So this is the danger of copy and paste, is that I copy and paste the wrong thing. But this is not going to return the newly registered user. It's going to return the user after update. Okay, unauthorized is also possible. And unprocessable, which is 422, yes. So that means there was some validation issue. Now, that reminds me. Did I even implement validation for update user request? Update user request. No. That's update user handler. Yes, I did. So there is validation there. And it is the update user validation, update user request validator. Okay, so there's all the validation rules that could be broken, possibly. So if you're trying to update a user, the same rules apply as when you're trying to create a user. So in this case, additional rule is that you have to specify at least one of those things, right? If you're specifying a bunch of empty fields, then there's nothing to update. So invalid, unprocessable. So I have to check the username, make sure the bio isn't too long, check the image, it's got to be a valid URL, and also using the shared validation, so I don't have to write those over and over again. Some of the same rules that apply to all users. So email must be valid, password length, username length, and so on. So the thing about these mugs, I have a bunch of these compared to the big ones I've been using recently, like the That Conference mug. These hold less coffee, so I have to make more trips to the coffee pot. So I will have to do that in a second here. So anyway, that validation works, which means if I go back to user controller, we can say the update request was invalid. And then it will also return those errors along with the code 422. And I don't know if, I think I showed this on the stream. Well, let's just go and do it again. I created this extension method. So validation errors is a collection. It's from Fluent Validation. Can I zoom in here? The text is so tiny. So right there, you can see it's a list of Fluent Validation errors. And those errors contain a lot of information. But what I really want to show to the user is just the string, the error message. And so actually doing that takes a little bit of extra string array manipulation. I didn't want to write that every single time. So I created an extension method that will just check, hey, is there anything in here? If there's not, return empty string. Otherwise, get all the messages and put them together in a big CSV, comma separated value, as one string, and return that to whatever needs it. In this case, the endpoint. So to list all the error messages to whoever's consuming this API. So it makes it a little easier to write. I don't have to write that same string.join every single time. Okay, so that's that. The other thing I need to document is this model here. And this is kind of embedded user because that's the conduit spec. If we go back to this, notice that it's user object embedded in the root JSON object. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I wouldn't design it that way, but that's the way Conduit designed it, and there might be a reason for it. I don't know. Maybe a front-end reason, but that's why I have this extra level of embedding here. But here is the actual fields that get used, right? And I call it a submit model. So if you look at login submit model, you can see it's the same sort of thing. But I've got these comments on here that describe what these fields should be. So I can go ahead and, whoops, put some notes on here. So I want to keep those consistent, but email address is required. It's not required, actually, so I'll take that off. At least, so I want to put this up here. I want to see what happens if I put a note up here. So at least one of these fields is required. Email, username, password, image, bio. No, email is always required. Yes, this is required. This is how we match the user. And you can't change the email address, at least in my system right now. We could potentially implement that in the future, but that would be a problem right now because we're using email as the document key. And those are immutable. Now, unfortunately, email addresses don't change that often, right? As opposed to these other things, which could change more often than email address. But email addresses do change. So just because of the conduit spec, the way it works, I had to pick one of these to be the key. And so I chose email. Username could be a good choice as well, but I'm sticking with email, which means that changing email is more of a hassle. Not impossible, but more of a hassle. So something we can implement in the future if we need to. But email is required, okay, and then I put a note up here, at least one of these is required, because if you're going to make a change, it has to be at least one of these, otherwise it's, pointless. So with username, we'll just copy some documentation from these other ones. So username is required. Username must be unique. In this case, it's got to be more. It's got to be unique. Isn't necessarily the right word because it already is unique, right? We're updating an existing user. Username must not be in use by another user. Okay, it can't be longer than 100 characters. Okay, password. So password is this whole thing. By the way, username is not required. Get rid of that. Password is not required for this endpoint. But if you do specify, it's got to be all these same rules that apply. Image. So image, this is something that, this is the first endpoint we can actually specify an image and or bio. So we're writing something new here. So image must be a valid URL. Let's see. Let's go to update user validator. Yeah. So it must be image URL must be valid. So I'm just going to copy that over here. It's the same message. Duplication, yes, but what are you going to do? There might be a way to reuse these strings between comments and code, but I don't know. Image URL must be JPEG or PNG. No GIFs allowed just yet. Okay, and bio. Bio is limited to 500 characters. That's the only rule there. Okay, so I'm curious to see if that shows up somewhere in the Swagger documentation, let's call it. Okay, so API users, see those notes showed up there. There's the conduit spec. Here's the schema. So, okay, there we go. So that shows up here at the root description. At least one of these fields is required. Username, password, image, bio. Email's required. And then here's all the notes we put in about all these different fields. So there we go. That's pretty good. And here's all the return codes that are possible. So I'm pretty happy with that documentation. So it's time to commit. And it's going to be number 4. So I'm going over here, and I like to use tortoise git. That's just the way I roll. We'll tag with number 4, documentation for update user. So change the, oh yeah, I added this migrate batch file. Probably need to remove the other one. Let me take this off screen. Git CLI FTW for the win. Yeah, I know. People like command line. I am much more of a UI person. Or PoshGit. I'm not sure what PoshGit is. People keep saying, oh, you should try, Git Kraken. And I tried that for a little while, years ago. Wasn't a huge fan. Probably because my last position, and this was 7+ years ago, right, was using Subversion. And so I got very used to Tortoise SVN, which is probably the example for Subversion. Git CLI or give me death. Hey, to each their own. I'm not here to judge. That's totally fine. I have... my issue is I have to memorize a lot of Git CLI commands, and I am bad at that. Okay, fix the typo there. All right. So one of the things that not related to this, but I actually removed the migrate up batch file from the solution because I don't actually check that in because that has sensitive information in it. But I do check in the example, which has redacted fields, password, connection string, and things like that. So I'll go ahead and check that in. This file list can be deleted. Okay, there we go, documentation. And we're going to push that out. Push. And if you're interested in following along, contributing, anything at all, filing bugs, whatever you want to do, here is the repo that I'm working on. You can see it's a fork from the official starter kit, right, which is kind of the way you go to get started. But here is all the documentation I've put in there. I'm definitely open to, hey, what's missing from this to help people get started. I would love to hear more feedback about that. I've tried to make it as comprehensive as possible, but there we go. So check that in. You can see that number 4 right there. And if we look at the issue board here and bring this up as an issue, here's all the commits and activity for this issue. So I think it's ready to move over to done. There we go. So that's that. We finished that card, and got a bunch more to go. But let's look at CI/CD next. So I think it's a good time to take a short, very short break, like 30 seconds, while I fill up my mug here. I'll be right back. Disturbing? Wow, Napalm, you must be definitely younger than me. That was the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about a I'll be right back screen was from, I think, the Saturday morning cartoons. There's a little song that goes with it. It's animated, actually. There's a little song that goes with it. It's like, after these messages, we'll be right back. I don't know if this was something that you'd saw in the over the pond there, Surly Dev, but this was this was a little claymation, or whatever you call it, stop motion animation of like a little doo-wop group saying, we'll be right back. So there's the screen. Disturbing? I don't know. I wasn't really disturbed by it as a kid, I guess. There were different variations on that one, too. It wasn't just the doo-wop group. There was like, I want to say like a dog or something. Singing dog? I don't know. But that's what they showed right before they went to commercial from Saturday morning cartoons. Like, I don't know, what was on Saturday mornings? Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers, whatever was on ABC. So that might just be a little bit before your time there, Napalm, which is okay. All right, so now we're talking about CI/CD. So let's, real quick, what does that mean? What does CI mean? Continuous integration. So continuous integration, in my mind, is whenever we're making a commit to the whatever source control we're using, that a series of integration tests will automatically be run. So they're continuously running. And those tests are in place to just act as a check to see that nothing was broken when something was committed. There's other things you can do at CI, so you can do linters and other kinds of checks, but I think, well, may do those in the future, but I think what I want to focus on is running the integration test. So I've got in this test project, and you can run the unit test as well. Oh gosh, no. No. Now I'm singing in a clip. Great. There are certain things that I have no problem claiming to be skilled at, but singing is not one of them. But thank you, Surly Dev, for immortalizing my terrible singing. That's why you're a moderator, Surly Dev, because you make those embarrassing clips of me. Anywho, so in this test project, I've got unit tests and integration tests. And unit tests, we can run those as well. There's no problem with that. Integration is kind of the main one to focus on. You do these clips so you can tweet them to promote your stream. Yes, I understand. I appreciate that, Surly Dev. And I'm not sure that clip is going to get people flocking to the stream. But I will share that clip later. Do you have a Twitter handle, by the way? I think you do. Is it SurlyDev? I can't remember. Make a little note to myself, just so I don't forget to do that. SurlyDev. So I'll put tweet this Twitch clip. Do those things automatically show up on ClipTalk, by the way? Or do I have to submit them? I have to get a ClipTalk account. I never used ClipTalk before, but if you're going to be clipping embarrassing things of me, then I better learn to use ClipTalk. Oh boy. Okay. So anyway, right now I just have the 4 tests. This is not a lot. And what they do is they all use this base class Couchbase integration test, which will pull from this JSON file that has connection string, username, password, and these all go to Couchbase Capella, which is the cloud-based version of Couchbase, seen right here. Now, one thing about this is a 30-day trial. I want to switch over to the full version eventually, but you just tweeted that clip. All right, well, thank you. Did you tag me on that too? I will retweet you. Yeah, it's SurlyDev. Okay. So is there a facepalm emoji? Yes, there is. There we go. Okay. Oh, I see Calvin's talking to Dennis about a Visual Studio plugin for Couchbase. So Couchbase has just released an IntelliJ plugin, which I can show you here I'm getting off track here, but that's okay. I'm just trying to delay this whole CI stuff because I know I'm going to be bad at it. I'll load up Conduit here in Writer. So IntelliJ is kind of the base project that for some reason your Twitch clips are not on ClipTalk yet. Yeah, I don't know. Do I have to actually opt into it or something? I don't know. But it sounds like it's going to happen soon. Anyway, IntelliJ is kind of the base project that JetBrains uses to build all their IDEs. So if you've ever used Writer or PHP Storm or WebStorm or just base IntelliJ, there's like a whole bunch of them. There's like 25 plus, and not even all of them are JetBrains because I think it's an open source project, so other people can build on those, like Red Hat and so on. And so there's a plugin over here. You can see Couchbase. I can connect to Capella, and you can see all the same things. So there's Conduit, Travel Sample, Twitch Chat, Conduit integration tests. Same thing over here. Those same 4 buckets. So this allows me to do kind of a lot of the same database interaction. I can expand these out to see what's in there. So like users, there's no index, so it's not going to give me any data. Here's Twitch Chat. Here's all the stuff that's in Twitch Chat. You can see all the messages in there. Every time you guys put something in the chat, it gets stored in this database. So I can just open one of these, I think, and there we go. So this is Eric Whitehead. This is an old one, probably. Saying something. Where is it? Just saying chat message. Okay. Must have been a test. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. And I can also open up a little SQL workbench to write some queries here, and everything is stored. Oh gosh, why do I tell you anything, SurlyDev? Yes, all that stuff is being stored in the database. It's a good thing that Couchbase can handle large amounts of data. Yeah, that's stored there, but it's not the only thing. It's also, I have a user profile system, which I built a long time ago. The trivia is stored there, various bits of config. All that stuff is stored there, but I can view that from the plugin, which is what I was showing. So if you're using any sort of IntelliJ plugin or IntelliJ IDE, so Writer, anything from JetBrains, anything based on IntelliJ, you can use this Couchbase plugin, and it's really great. Also, there's one for VS Code, which is also pretty cool for a different reason. So I've got, I just want to show this off. It's just so cool. Let's take me a second here. Presentations. So I use this for a video I recorded earlier this week. Right here, I think. Yes. So this is a SQL++ demo, and I can create a notebook, a SQL++ notebook, right here in VS Code. So here's a similar thing where I can connect to Capella, and then I can just have some Markdown SQL query and run the query right here in the notebook and get the results out. Pretty cool. And then I can take these notebooks and I can share them with people so they can run the same queries. It's a really low friction way to experiment with and write SQL queries. There's a few bits of functionality that are kind of in one and not the other, so VS Code and IntelliJ, but those are probably coming in the future. And then Calvin chimes in and says, what about plain old Visual Studio? And so that is more challenging to create than VS Code and IntelliJ plugins. Also a smaller audience, just by definition, right? Because VS Code and IntelliJ reach so many developers in terms of JavaScript developers, PHP developers, Java developers, everybody. Where Visual Studio is mainly C#, VB, F#, maybe a couple others, but so it's a smaller audience, more effort, which means it's not as big as a priority. However, Calvin is very skilled and works for a company that builds Visual Studio extensions. So this might be something that he can work on. But he's working with the team to get a spec for that, basically. That may or may not happen. Who knows? Anyway, let's close this down. Going off on a tangent here. Sorry. But I want to run these integration tests, and there's 4 of them. So it's getting this stuff from JSON file right now locally. What I want to do is, in my GitHub workflow, I want to supply it environment variables so that it can be different than what's hard-coded in the JSON file, which is not, I don't think, challenging, but I need to go ahead and create some workflow files. If you've not used GitHub Actions before, see, I have somewhere, my Delete Me project, yeah. So it's not GitHub Actions, I keep calling it that, it's GitHub Workflows. But workflows means that basically when you commit something into GitHub, it's going to run those workflows automatically based on whatever criteria. Oh, I hate when I do that. Come back, come back. Okay, I'm not coming back. There we go. On some criteria. And one of the things it can do is actually can run some tests. So the way this works is I go into this project. I'm going to create, there's multiple ways to do this, but I'll create a .github folder. In that folder, I create a workflows folder. And inside of that, I'm going to create a new YAML file. Yes, it's YAML. Blah. Blah. Not a fan of YAML, but that's the way it happens. So I'm going to add this to the solution, because why not? Wait, did I put it in the right folder? What did I do? Yeah, real world ASP.NET GitHub. Real world ASP. Oh, there it is, GitHub. So it's kind of outside that folder. Okay, there we go. So there is the CI. Yes, it's YAML. We got to deal with YAML. Fortunately, I believe that ChatGPT can help us with this. So I actually did this already in a separate project called Delete Me. But I'm going to go ahead and try it in, let's try in ChatGPT first, and we'll try Copilot next, and we'll see how it works. So I've got to go off screen here to get my credentials in. Sorry. Don't want to give away my password. Oh, it's already logged in. Oh, great. Never mind then. I just need to erase all my conversations. Okay. So there we go. There's ChatGPT. Make sure my conversations are gone. Yes. Okay. So I could say, for instance, create a GitHub workflow YAML, which will run for a ASP.NET Core project. I don't know if that needs to be specified. Probably .NET Core or .NET project. That will run integration tests on commit. So let's see what it comes up with. Now I've already got one Julia Child style off the screen here. I showed briefly, but I just want to see how well it does at doing this again. Because for me, I hate writing YAML, and I am not good at this kind of build server type of stuff. Now I got stuck doing it at multiple jobs because someone's got to. All right, so let's see what it has here. Okay, so it's actually creating more stuff than the one that I did earlier. Here we go. So it's called .NET Core CI. We'll change that to something else. On a push to the main branch or pull request to the main branch. I'm curious about that. What does that trigger on? I guess it might run tests against someone's pull request. That might be nice. Here's the jobs. So the first job is build. That's the only job in this case. It's going to run on Ubuntu, which is fine. No problem. .NET will run on Linux. No sense in spinning up Windows, and I don't think I can even spin a Mac. Ubuntu is totally fine. First step is the checkout. This is using the checkout action. Okay. Setup.NET, and so this is a setup.NET action. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but there's a .NET version 5. That needs to be changed to use 7. That's what I'm using. Restore dependencies. This is not in my existing file. This is probably good, though, although .NET Build might do that automatically. But it might be good to break out these in different steps. So if something went wrong with NuGet, this step will tell us. Build. Again, that wasn't in my existing. So actually there was a restore as a separate step, or part of another step. That's fine. And then we've got .NET Test. No build, because I already did a build up here. And then in my example, it said no restore, which is interesting. Why wouldn't I restore? Verbosity normal. So I think this is pretty good. I'm going to copy this as a good starting point. We're going to say conduit integration tests. And I want to change this to 7. Update this to another version. So a nice little comment there. So that's one thing about YAML I do like, is I can put comments in. Everything else about YAML I don't like. Okay, and this is something I might want to add other branches for in the future. Like there might be a release branch, but anything comes into main, I want to be running these tests on. So there we go. I think that's all I need. And that should work, but there are some changes I want to make to it. But let's go ahead and commit. And this was, what was the card number? Number 6. Integration tests via GitHub workflow. So check that out. What is this? Oh, okay. Ignore that. Oh, ignore that too. Gosh, there's a stray file showing up because I went on a tangent. Okay. All right. Commit and push. Oh, shoot. Okay, so there's a problem already. And I don't want to step on any landmines here, so I'm just going to present the facts, all right? The Conduit project, when you fork it, the main branch is instead what they used to call main branch, which is master. So that's what I'm actually using for this project. The new default these days is main, and that's all I'm going to say about it for now, because I don't want Surly Dev to clip anything out of context. So let's try this again. It was number 6, right? Number 6. Fixed branch name. Napalm. I have been looking for a project to get involved with since my new job is currently not doing much custom dev, which is disappointing. Hasn't been the best year with career moves. Napalm, if you are into C#, if you are into backend, I can recommend the Real World project for sure. Especially even if you're not in C Sharp. There's lots of language, whatever language you want. .NET open source software is very hit or miss, sadly, I've discovered. That's a shame. I find it to be, maybe it's because I have a long career with Microsoft Tech. So I remember the bad old days where there was nothing open source. But I'm curious what your experience is with .NET open source software that's hit or miss. Anyway, you don't have to build .NET. With Real World Project, you can build something with PHP or Java or whatever else. And I would encourage you to use Couchbase, and I can definitely help you with that. But anything, if you're into backend, or if you're into front end, you could build something with whatever front end framework. There's probably already one for React and Vue and Angular. You could try something else, that's for sure. You contributed to ASP.NET Core. That was fun, not something easily done outside. No. So ASP.NET Core is open source, and they do accept contributions, yes. But it is, ASP.NET Core is used by millions. And so actually contributing and getting something in is, maybe rightfully so, challenging to do. It's got to go through a lot of checks, and you have to go through a lot of, signing waivers and things like that. But you actually did contribute. That's awesome. That's impressive. So why don't you drop a link to your contribution? I would love to celebrate that and show that. There are other projects that are open source that are easier to contribute to. For instance, mine. If you send a pull request to me, your chances of getting accepted are pretty high. Because I would definitely love and appreciate the help. And it's not like my code is running millions of enterprises right now. Maybe someday in the future. The NoSQL Migrator project, if you're interested in that, that's also a project that I'm dogfooding here that I would love help on. It doesn't have to be code, by the way. A perfectly good and, in fact, possibly even great, better contribution to open source is documentation or issues or bugs or suggestions. Those are all great from my point of view, all appreciated. I am not yet at the point where I'm one of those open source maintainers who's like, ugh, another pull request. Ugh. Oh, so many pull requests. I would love to get to that point where I can complain about too many pull requests, but I'm not there yet. Anyway, okay, so did I commit that? Or, sorry, did I push that? Push. No, I didn't. There we go. So it is pushed. Now I want to go into actions. And, okay, so there is the workflow that's being queued, and now it's running. So actually see the different steps. So right now it's the build step right here. Obviously it's just that main one, or sorry, the build job, and then there'll be different steps inside of there. So, oh, we already got an error. Gosh. Specify a project or solution file. The current working directory does not contain a project or solution file. Okay, so that's probably because of the way I structured the project. The Conduit folder is, the code's in a Conduit folder. So you didn't get the call out from Microsoft on monthly, since the guy recreated my pull request, but I know it's me. Okay, well, let's check it out. Oh, see, you got me. You got me to show a competitor on my own stream. But yeah, that's cool stuff. So look at this. Look at all this work that's required to get something committed to ASP.NET Core. There you are, Napalm 684. 2021. Look at that dog. Web developer with a clean code, passion for clean code and solid architecture. Look at all these achievements here. Quick Draw, Arctic Code. I think a lot of people have this. This is a pretty cool badge to get, though. Your code is actually in an Arctic code vault. Pole Shark. You've opened 2 PRs that have been merged. Pretty cool. Yeah, look at all this. Look at all this stuff. You're killing it, my man. You're killing it. Pet Hospital. Clearly you have a passion for animals, too. So everybody should give Napalm a follow for sure on GitHub. Doing some cool stuff out there Definitely worth it. +1 dog. Hey, what's up, Aaron? How are you? I dropped into your stream a little bit last night, but it was so late. I was tired. I'm an old man, so I got an early bedtime. But speaking of, why don't we give BioZal a shout out as well? Give him a follow. He's doing some cool stuff with mobile and Swift UI, also with ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot and whatever. Yes, I am Eastern instead of Central. People, I don't know. People keep forgetting about that. That Ohio is Eastern time. It seems like it's kind of Central, but it's not Eastern time. Your dog's name is Doc, based on Doc Brown from Back to the Future. 1.21 gigawatts. Go ahead and clip that, Surly. I dare you. Yeah, okay, cool stuff. Well, again, I'm getting off on a tangent here. So I've got to fix this. See, this is something that I think there's a way to do this locally, but yeah, the problem is that if I want to test this, I got to push it out to GitHub. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of just kind of testing the run steps here individually. So everything's going to be run on the base folder. So I did .NET restore. I'm going to get that same error message, right? Yep. So if I .NET restore conduit, is that going to give me the right thing? Okay. So conduit. And do you use anything? I know Aaron uses GitHub. Excuse me, GitHub workflows. Do you use anything for doing it locally? I think I tried this before years ago and wasn't super happy with it. Or it might not have been years ago. Maybe it was like last year. Sorry, I'm competitive. Didn't realize Couchbase competed with the R word. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. No, I was just joking around. But yes, Couchbase is a NoSQL database, but we also have a built-in memory-first caching layer. So you don't have to add cache to your database. You have it already. Okay, dare accepted. Hey, there it is, 1.21 gigawatts. Okay, so that's not finding it. So if I do conduit, there we go. So .NET build conduit, no restore. Okay, and the same thing, we're going to run the tests. It's not going to find them, so let's just say .NET test conduit. There we go. Okay, so I just need to put the word conduit because there's a subfolder, subdirectory, whatever you want to call it, called conduit. So there's all the tests, pass, pass, pass. You can see how long they take. Just zoom in. There's the test results. That's how it's going to look when we get to GitHub workflows as well. So when it's slowing down, oh yeah. So those were all integration tests that were running very slowly. And then bam, it ran all the unit tests in 1 millisecond or less, which is what we're looking for. All right, so I think we're good. Go ahead and commit that and push out to, I can't remember, I keep reading the number 6. Yeah, number 6. Added conduit folder to GitHub workflow. And you know, this, I can't really blame ChatGPT for getting this wrong because I didn't tell it anything about my folder structure. So it came up with a perfectly valid GitHub workflow for, you know, every project that has the code in the root, which is probably most of them. Whether that's the right way to go or not, different story, but there we go. Alrighty, integration test. We should see another one. Added conduit folder to GitHub workflow. And it's running. Let's see what happens. I'm get my last refill of coffee, and I will be right back. I'll leave this on the screen, though. You need to make this your BRB screen, clips of you singing. That's probably too short. What happened now? Is it because of all these warnings? It's not allowed warnings? Yeah, these are all warnings because of XML comments that are not there. Is your green screen tester? Yes, it is. It's one of those big round pop-up green screens. Sorry about that. Little peek behind the scenes. You get to see the that conference sign. You can kind of see it over there, right here, next to Mario. Yeah, it's attached to my chair. I used to have a big pop-up green screen that Calvin actually gave me, but it's kind of big, bulky, and a little bit. I think I damaged it, so it's a little bent up. It kind of has a tendency to fall over. So I just got this little cheap round one for the back of my chair. I thought I got a big enough one, but apparently it's, you know, just a little bit turned to the left or right. And it shows behind the curtain. So maybe I need a bigger one or a square one or something like that. I don't know. So what is the problem here? Build failed. Integration test settings is not found. Is that why it failed? Because it couldn't find this file? That would be odd for that to happen in the build step, though. Okay, well, the problem is that it's make sure that file is set to copy to output directory on build. Hey, what's up, Calvin? Okay, I'm going to take that off screen because it has sensitive information in it. But the thing is, Calvin, that file is not, I don't commit it because it has sensitive information in there, connection string and whatnot. I wanted to use the environment variable for that instead, which is what I was getting to with GitHub Workflows. I forgot about that. It had sensitive information. So it's obviously not going to work even if this build was working. So I think that's the reason. It's just not finding that file, and it's not, you know, it's not in the project. So what do I do about that? So I've got this JSON file here for local integration test running. And a template, is that because of your setup routine? My setup routine, do you mean this right here? Setup.net? For setting up the configuration. What I've got in there is, this is for integration testing. What I decided to use was, instead of Docker, because I had trouble getting it to work, test containers Docker, I'm actually just going to connect to Capella for now. I might change this to use Docker in the future. With GitHub, you know, secrets, I could put a different connection string in here. Here nor there. This is what I have for integration testing. So I have a different bucket to connect to on Couchbase Capella. And it could potentially be a different, you know, connection string in the future, different credentials, and so on. That works fine locally. I just saw those running here. They all passed. But I don't commit this file into GitHub because it has sensitive information. It has connection string and credentials. So that's making this unhappy. There's lots of warnings, which maybe we can do something about that, but these are mostly about XML comments. But it seems to be the error is from this file not being found. So what I could do, right, but where are you setting up the configuration settings source for the test? Are you bringing that JSON file for settings? Yeah. So what you're asking is, like, here? Yes, I'm bringing it in right here with configuration builder in the base class of these integration tests. It's pulling in the file there, which, again, locally, this is what I want. In workflows, I want it to go from environment variable, optional equals false. Ah, that would be perfect, right? But how is the build discovering that? I would expect that to be an error on runtime, but how would the build know that? Totally random diversion. Did that dog food con over your way kind of fizzle out? I don't know about Dog Food Con. Here's the thing. Like, a lot of events were seriously damaged by the events of 2020 and 2021. I don't know what the Dog Food Con plans are. It seems to me that in-person events are really ramping back up to almost where they were 2019. Dog Food Con, I don't know. Calvin, I think we know somebody who manages or organizes Dog Food Con. I want to say Cassandra for some reason, but I don't know if that's right. Who is on this? Yeah, it doesn't say who the organizers are, at least not that I can tell. She used to, not sure if she's still involved. Yeah, I'm not sure either. 2019 was the last one, obviously. He is definitely a con for sure. What? Who's a con? Yeah. So I don't know. That's a good question. If I could figure out who the organizer is, I got a whole backlog of tweets that I need to tweet. Surly Dev's other clip. Tweet for Dog Food Con. Okay. All right. Back to the build. Your build is failing, not the test, because it can't find that file. That's what I'm guessing, Calvin. There's lots of warnings, but the only error I could see is right here. Could not copy the file because it was not found. So probably if I look at this, it already has a copy if newer. So that is probably why it's failing, because it's trying to copy it and it's not, yeah, it's included in the project, not committed. Right. So I could change this to do not copy, right? Which might be a problem when I'm running tests locally. I'm thinking about just putting in a dummy file. Committing a dummy file, I should say. Yeah. I think that's the way I should go. Gives me the best of both worlds. I can have it locally. The problem is I have this on my git ignore. I don't want to accidentally commit any sort of credentials either. So I think another route I could take is put your local settings and secrets. Right, yes, exactly. But as far as locally running these tests, I still want to use a JSON file. So what I could do is I could another one called integration test settings.local. I'm going to run the same problem, aren't I? Yeah, because that'll be another file that it won't find. It does make sense to make this optional true. Yes. That's why I'm going secrets. Do I use secrets? Can I do secrets locally? I'm well aware of secrets in GitHub workflows, which is where I was going to go. All right, is that under somewhere in here? Another line for that, adding secrets, and right click the project and manage secrets. Oh, really? So it was like add secrets, add user secrets. Okay, so I can right click on the project to manage secret. Oh, manage user secrets. Is that what we're talking about? Where does this get stored? Sure, whatever. Secrets. Okay, and then this is a file I just don't commit. A horrible JSON file in app data. What? It's a JSON file that gets stored to your local app data. A horrible JSON file according to Napalm. Okay, so say add user secrets, and then I assume it would be this assembly, right? It's way outside the project directory. Okay, that's good. So I don't know, couch-based integration test, something like that. Plain text secrets on disk, not a fan, but it's awfully convenient. Yeah, if they're sort of plain text, that is kind of awkward. But basically, this is the same thing as the app settings format there, Calvin. This is all new to me. So I can just copy and paste this over to secrets. Interesting. And then I put in the actual ones. Do that off screen. Yeah, so you already had, I already did that. Yeah, that's true. You're making a good point. I do have plain text secrets already. That's right. Okay, so there's that. So that in that way, then I just get rid of integration tests .json just completely. I could change this to secrets .json template. Override them, yeah, with environment variables is what I want to do. So Napalm, this is my biggest pain point in dev right now, secret management. I don't want to pay Azure, AWS, etc. to do this for me. And environment variables are such a pain to work with. I feel like all current solutions kind of slow down the dev feedback loop. Okay, I'm with you on the sense of you don't want to pay Azure and AWS to do that. However, if you're doing an enterprise type of solution, your enterprise is going to pay for those. As far as storing them, for your own projects, there probably is a way to do it, right? I could, you could probably store, personal stuff. You could probably store secrets in like a TrueCrypt. They still make TrueCrypt? A TrueCrypt file or something like that. But again, that is a little bit of extra hassle because then you have to HashiCorp Vault, but it's so heavy and gross. Heavy and gross. HashiCorp. So is HashiCorp Vault the way people are doing it? See, this is something that I don't spend much time on. You don't want to manage the vault. So yeah, something like a vault. Yeah. So Napalm, your issue, if I could sum it up, is you don't want Azure, AWS to manage it, and you don't want to manage it yourself. So someone's got to manage it, right? I wonder if something like LastPass could work for you. Like if you're already using LastPass or 1Password, you could just, there's probably SDKs for that. Read the secrets from your brain, done and done. That's all well and good, unless you win the lottery, Napalm, right? Then all the secrets are out by the pool in a tropical island. 1Password does have a CLI. Yeah, I'm sure it has an SDK as well. Same thing with LastPass, I'm sure. You can have them manage it for you and just grab them from 1Pass or LastPass. That might be a way to go about it. Have them manage it for you, right? And so they have free offerings, both of them. So you can use. You're not paying them to manage your credentials now. You're just doing it for free. Now, of course, I think a password manager is worth its weight in gold. So I have no problem paying for those. You want a lightweight REST server that just encrypts stuff. Probably not hard to build, honestly. Famous last words. Yeah, you pay for 1Password. Yeah, well, good for you. Everyone watching this, get yourself a password manager, please. I don't care which one. I don't care if it's free, paid for, you build it yourself. Please get yourself a password manager. It's going to help you have unique passwords so that if somebody gets hacked, they're not going to have access to everything else in your system. Also, a nice benefit of LastPass in my case, or 1Password, is if I am hit by a bus, I have hundreds of passwords to banks and investment accounts and emails and you know, Peacock, Amazon, that are all out there in my password manager. So if I do kick the bucket, I only need to give one password to my wife, and then she has access to everything. Not that she couldn't get access now if she wanted to, but you know, I'm the one handling the bills and paying all these types of accounts, and so it's a great way to. It's one way to do some kind of digital estate management. Yeah, I know. LastPass, you know, whenever they're in the news, it's always spooks people. I'm still with them. I don't think I was affected by anything, but yeah, they got some bad PR right now. But you know, I don't want to go through the hassle of switching password managers. I'm just so used to them at this point. But it doesn't matter to me. Pick a password manager and use it, please. There's a saying in security circles: you don't have to outrun the bear; you just have to outrun your friend. And a password manager will mean you will be far ahead of anybody else who's using the same exact password for their email, their bank, their Amazon account, their investment accounts, everything. Napalm, it says you're swearing. Doesn't look like swearing to me. Oh, thank you, Calvin. Notepad.exe is a swear? Oh, gosh. Yeah, don't use Notepad either. I guess it's better than Post-it notes, but don't use a text file. Because then, what if you're at your laptop or your phone? Oh, LMAO? Oh, okay, that must be the swearing. Okay, LMAO, it's on the edge. There must be a better substitute for the A word. That's not a swear, so I'll allow it. Okay, clearly a joke. Oops, sorry, I'll PG myself. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. All right, so this just needs to be my secrets file, right? Secrets template. So I need to put my secrets into the actual secrets. I closed it. How do I open it back up? Right-click, manage your secrets. Okay. Okay, I've got those in there. Okay, beautiful. So then what I can do is you're telling me I can remove this JSON file and just leave it in secrets. And I have the secrets JSON template that I will be committing so that anyone else trying to run this project will be aware of this. I need to also update the README, which why is that in the solution? Existing item. So I think I have app settings somewhere mentioned here. Okay. Configure conduit. So instead of app settings, and I'm going to wait till this works before I make a change to the README. So this needs to be changed to using secrets. Secrets. Okay. Commit. So this is secrets. Interesting. Template. Yeah, okay. Template, whatever. There's a new library, user secrets. Fine. Integration test is now, okay, I can probably remove that from there since I don't even have that anymore. Right? Remove. Okay. And conduit, what changed? Oh, I added the README. Yep. And the template. Okay. Number 6. Changing integration tests to use secrets instead of local JSON file. Okay, so this, if I commit this or push this, the test will still fail because I don't have anything in the secrets yet out on GitHub. I have local secrets. I don't have my own GitHub secrets. So where do I add those at again? Secrets. Okay, here we go. Actions. Okay. New repository secrets. Yes, okay. So for that, I need to go over to the template. I need Couchbase connection string. Now, how does that work? Does it work like this? Or is it a colon? Okay, time to ask ChatGPT. Got to run. Napalm, thank you very much for joining us. Great conversation today. You have a good weekend as well. Yeah, I would be happy to help you with any sort of project. If you're interested in Conduit, definitely check it out. Happy 4th to you as well. I've got myself a super long weekend. I'm looking forward to it. So I will not be streaming on Tuesday, by the way, because that is the 4th of July, and which that is a holiday in the United States of America. So I will not be streaming that day. Okay, but I need to know, ChatGPT, tell me. I have given this configuration JSON, given the following configuration JSON, how do I specify a secret in GitHub Actions for the connection string? Oops, I gotta give it the actual JSON. So let's see if it knows what the heck I'm talking about. If you want to secure sensitive information, use GitHub secrets. Secrets, yeah. So I can do this. GitHub Navigator repository. Yep. Secrets. Type a name for the secret. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now it's going to go ahead and tell me all this stuff. Yeah, I got to put environment variables in there as well. I forgot about that. I got to do that. But the question is, what do I name the environment variables? That's the question. How do I name environment variables for nested JSON values? I should probably test these locally with the secrets, by the way, make sure those work. Double underscore. All right. So it's going to give me an example. Oh, yeah, I already know that. Yep, I already gave you that. Connection string, username, and password, environment variables. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. Great job. ChatGPT. I'm finding ChatGPT to be extremely valuable for helping me to figure out stuff that I just don't use all the time every day and I don't remember. So let's go back to, where was I? Oh, yeah, right here. Okay. Yeah, that's good. ChatGPT Copilot. ChatGPT is greater than Copilot. Well, I'm kind of like both for different reasons. Copilot seems to do a great job of understanding the context of the code that I have open in Visual Studio. ChatGPT, obviously, it's browser-based, so it doesn't have that context. It only has what context I give it. So, all right. So, anywho, I need to go over to this and add underscore connection. Is that right? Underscore connection string camel cased. Yes. Copilot has helped me a lot with comment and basic code completion. Could be the projects I'm working on, etc. The code completion part, I am not a fan of. I turned it off, I think, because it ended up being more annoying than helpful. It would mess up with my tab and my normal flow of typing. So I didn't like that at all. I turned it off. I could definitely see that would be a helpful tool for a beginner, for instance. Just like top level code in C#. Great for beginners. These are all great beginner features. I cannot deny that. But for an old dog like me, it's kind of a little bit annoying. So I'm glad I could turn those off. All right. GitHub Actions. I need to. I'll just make this TBD for now because I don't want to show that on the screen. We'll add another one, and it is Couchbase underscore username. Username TBD. And another one. Password. Couchbase underscore password TBD. Okay, and bucket name. Why is it all caps? I just noticed that. Why is this? Is this going to be a problem? I hope not. Too many autocompletions completing with each oother. Looks like autocomplete struck you there with your chat message. Just a pattern. Okay. Update, edit this. Okay. Oh. Hopefully that'll still match. All right. Other thing is scope name. Oh, okay. So I could call this whatever I want to, is what you're saying. The underscore I don't need here. I need those in my GitHub workflow. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. And user collection name. We need to add more of these as we go, but this is fine for now. TBD. Okay. And in fact, these aren't sensitive. I can go ahead and change those. That's going to be default. Password. Oh, what? Oh, gotta go off screen here. LastPass isn't working with this. GitHub wanting to confirm my password. How dare you? Okay. Okay, so you can't see them on this view either. I think so, yeah, on this part. Yeah. So these could be whatever I want them to be, as long as I use them in my... This is what I'm going to use in the environment, though, anyway. So whatever, it's fine. Scope name, let's see. Bucket name, I wanted to call that Conduit Integration Test. Again, not sensitive. Doesn't have to enter password again, thank goodness. Username, I don't think is sensitive either, but I'm going to take this off screen here because I'm going to open up my actual secrets. Manage user secrets. Yeah, so the username I've got for integration tests is SVC integration tests. Okay, now at this point everything else is sensitive, so I got to go off. Wait. Yeah, this isn't sensitive either. Users. Okay, so I've got to go off the screen now. In fact, I want to use two screens here, so I'm going to just completely go onto this one. You'll still hear me, but you can't see my screen. Alrighty, so connection string. Got to paste that whole sensitive thing over there. Password. That whole malarkey over there. I think that's everybody, right? Bucket name? No, I didn't get bucket name. Conduit integration tests. I got, what about scope name is underscore default. That's not sensitive. Okay. I think we're good. Back in public. Okay. Great. So I've got these. Now I need to go into my, let me close this file here. I need to go into my YAML right here. I need to put environment variables in there. So ChatGPT actually told me the syntax for that was right here, env. Builds, runs on, env. Hopefully the white space is happy for YAML. Aaron, hope you have a great day, and for those of you in the U.S., great holiday weekend. I got to run to meetings. Take care. Thanks for stopping by, Aaron. Appreciate it. Everybody make sure to follow Aaron to get notified the next time he is streaming with mobile stuff, Swift, UI, ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot. Same kind of stuff I'm doing, but mobile. He is much more of a mobile developer than I will ever be. I used to write mobile code back in the day. Long time ago. Okay, so secrets. Whoops. So for this, can I make them? Just want to match casing. I don't know if that matters. Username, password. Other things I have was bucket name. And scope name. And username. Oh, I got username. User's collection name. Just gonna copy and paste that one. Secrets. Is that 6? 6 total fields. Yep. And so in the future, if I ever wanted to connect to some sort of auth or other service, RabbitMQ or whatever, I would add those two environment variables as well, because those would be used for integration tests. Okay, so at this point, this should work. Got to commit. Number 6, updating. Wasn't there some changes to this one? Did I already commit those? I must have already committed those. Okay, whatever. Updating action workflow to use secrets. Okay, maybe I didn't push. Okay, so now let's go back over to workflows. See if it's working this time. Actions, here it is. Fingers crossed, or at least we get a new error. Just this Amygala mug here, or how we say it, Amygala. On the back, it has this chemistry formula. It's kind of worn away a little bit, but guess what that is the formula / molecular diagram of? That's right, methamphetamine. No, just kidding. That is caffeine. Wish this build had some caffeine right now. It is taking some time, but that's kind of a good sign. It means it's probably working. No! What is your problem now? Build failed. What, all these... Huh? Okay, okay. So, oh, the build succeeded. Got it. That's what my task is called, right? Or the job is called, it's just called build. Okay. So the test failed. Why did the test fail? Let's find out. We've got teardown failed for test fixture. So all the unit tests passed. That's good. Okay, well, let me just go ahead and... I didn't try these locally. Let's try it locally. This was the run test part, right? See if these are still passing locally. Maybe I broke something in the test. No, they seem to be working. No, those are unit tests. Oh, but that one's working. Those integration tests are working here. Why do they not work on GitHub? Okay, let's just look at the code here. The first one that's failing is git current user request handler tests. This one. And it says the teardown is failing. So that's on the base class. Directory not found exception. Oh, that's what it is. Yep, that's the problem. I'm just curious why that didn't fail here. It's doing the same thing. So if we go look over at my migrations, it's doing this whole thing where it goes and gets the config from conduit.web, which is a problem that I knew about, kind of forgot about. But as far as this goes, I might want to use secrets for this as well. So what this is doing is, by default, this is going to go and this is running the database migrations. This is going to use the same app settings as the web project, because the web project has bucket name, scope name, user collection name that it needs to create those things in the database. But I am pulling it, and I knew this was hacky right here. See, this feels super hacky. It's a separate project, which maybe I don't make it a separate project. Maybe that's the way to go about this. But really, for these integration tests, it should be using the secrets that I specified for the integration test. Which, if I make these optional and do some error checking, then that should be fine, right? If I did that, web folder is being used here, so set base path web folder, right? So again, this is not going to be any less hacky, okay? But let's start here. Config new builder. Wait, what? Oh, right, okay. So builder equals new configuration builder. Okay. And then I can just do a try. Catch. Don't care what the exception is. But if that all succeeds, I'm going to say builder.set base path to web folder. Okay. Catch, I don't really care. We're probably running on GitHub, so the above hack won't work. Okay. I can probably add these here as well. Okay. And then I always want to add configuration variables and builder. So then I will set config equals to that. That might do the trick. Let's see. Is this still going to pass locally? That's the main thing. Probably should do a build, right? So this might be running, since I'm doing no build, this might be running the old tests, which that's not going to help me. Time to sword fight on some chairs. If you know, you know. Okay, let's do a rebuild. Okay, try it again. Just want to make sure they run and pass normally here locally for my normal day-to-day development. And then I think with this code here, this will also run and pass on GitHub workflow. So all I care about is environment variables in that case. Okay. Alrighty, let's try it again. 6, changing migration to work better with GitHub workflow. Not work better, just to work. GitHub workflow. Secrets. Yep, I think that'll do it. So I gotta say, this kind of stuff I'm not a big fan of doing. Like, I don't like this kind of work, but it's going better than I thought it would. All right. Let's try it again. Fingers crossed, everybody. Tests are going to pass, right? It's all going to work. Chair sword fight. XKCD. Compiling. Classic. I'm trying to slack off a little bit. My code's compiling, or my integration tests are running. Although, in reality, once this actually works, I don't need to babysit integration tests. Now what? Just set up. Index failure exception. Teardown, first of all, teardown failed. Key space not found. And it's redacted all of it. Teardown failed. Why would the teardown fail? So how about I just try this locally, but pretend these files don't exist. And I might get the same error that I'm getting out there. And then I can diagnose it here locally instead of having to keep pushing out to GitHub. Okay, invalid migration. Scope name of specified when deleting a collection. Okay. Do I have my migrations incorrect? Is this not pulling it? Okay. Oh, because this, okay. So in this case, the secrets, one of those environment variables local do you? No. Well, I assume secrets would get it. But you're right, I don't have secrets here. Add, what was it? Add secrets? What? Why doesn't it like that? It's probably an extension method, right? Add user secrets. And the nice thing about this is I can point to a different assembly. Where was that? Secrets are project specific. Are they? I can't point to a different assembly, and it will just go up to that project. Where was that? Completely blanking on where I put that. That must have been in the base class. Maybe in the case if you want the hard reference. Which is kind of what I want to do anyway. I want to point to a different project anyway. This might be a superior method. Add user secrets. There it is. For integration test. Is that where I put the secrets? It must be, right? So this must be in a different name, like a different package, which I didn't include. Let's ask GitHub Copilot. What namespace, I guess what NuGet package is the add user secret extension in? Microsoft extensions, configuration user. Well, okay. Makes sense. That needs to go into my migration. $410 million downloads. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is okay. It'll be a circular reference. That's no bueno. Have to have a separate secrets file just for this. But the environment being passed in would be the same, right? Let's just do it locally, with the assumption that all the GitHub secrets will be passed in from the same place. This is where user secrets start falling apart. Oh boy. Okay. Well, what are you going to do? All right. Take this off screen. Just copy and paste from my other project. Wait. Oh, no, not that project. This project. Yeah, maybe there should be user secrets at the solution level? I don't know if that makes any more sense. Okay. All right, so now I want to basically run one of these tests, one of these integration tests. See what happens now. What? Downgrade? What? Why is it 6? Did I hit that by accident? Secrets. No, it says 7 right there. Why would it download this? Why would it go down to 6? Detected package downgrade. This package directly from the project. It's a different version. This isn't. What the heck is going on? This is a 6 or a 7 project, isn't it? Yeah. Conduit. What in tarnation is going on here? Secrets. Oh, wait. Yeah. 7. What am I missing here? Rebuild. Double check the solution node for the packages that don't have different versions of other projects. Okay. Where is my... Why would it be an older version? Okay, what? I said 7. Consolidate tab. Oh, this one right here. What's on consolidate? Dependency injection. Oh, that's... Why is that one behind? I don't think that makes as much difference. But it may as well do that as well. It's still doing this. It's still saying 7.0. Let's try rebuild. Okay, no, that fixed it. That fixed it. Weird. But that consolidate tab is good to know. Thank you for that, Colin. That's a good tip. I think I've seen that before. Alrighty, let's try it again. Run all. Okay, so it's not pulling in that... Oh, it says it's not found the users collection. But... why not? Oh, dropping the collection? Collection's not found. So, what? Is there some place where I'm dropping the collection? I don't think so. It's in one of these. This one right here would. Oh, okay. All right. Let's. I may have gotten something into a bad state. on my integration testing data. So if I look at this file, what does it say? History of 1. So, okay. So migration must have failed halfway through. This is probably an issue with my migration project. Let's go ahead and whack it and do it manually. Anything else in there? Nope, it's all whacked. Okay. Going to talk to Dennis after the holidays about getting something in the works for a VS extension for Couchbase. Yes, we were actually discussing that earlier before you showed up, Calvin. We were talking about, I don't know how I got on the topic of extensions, but, oh yeah, because I went over to Twitter because of Surly Dev, and I noticed the conversation on there. So yeah, that's cool. Yes, Tarnation. Sorry, Surly Dev. Sorry for my Yosemite Sam language. That is, you know, that's just how I talk. I like using, like outdated semi-swears, non-swears, I guess. All right. Now this should work. I keep saying that. One of these days it's going to. Hey, okay. So my hypothesis is that, whoops, I need to pin it, that now it should work in GitHub. Okay. Family-friendly stream. Yeah. Yes. So sorry. If tarnation is too strong of a word, I apologize. But tarnation is allowed in this stream. Okay. So user secrets, migrate base. Yep. Tests. Okay. So it did say 601 there. That must have been like a file wasn't saved or something. And upgraded dependency injection, which is not really related, but may as well do it while I'm here. So, okay, updated so that migrations also use environment vares GitHub secrets. If there was a local tool that used GitHub workflow to run my tests, I think there is, but I had trouble with it. That might be a better thing to do than having this where it's kind of working one way locally and another way in the workflow. You applaud it. Your wife and kids are in the background listening right now too. Hello, Calvin's wife and kids. Sorry he suggests subjecting you to such uninteresting content. But I hope you're having a good day, and I hope you all have a great holiday weekend. And I hope this test passes, or this workflow finishes successfully. So far, so good. We're running tests, and it's still going. Hey, that's an integration test that passes. Got it. Oh, look at that. Incredible. Incredible. It's working. Yay. Isaac Levin just did a video on local testing with GitHub Actions. What's up, Isaac? I might check that out. Look at that. So many exclamation points. How can you not love all those exclamation points? It's like getting a text message from my mom. Yeah, that might be the way to go. The other thing is I also want to just run tests right here in Visual Studio. Like I want to run my little, I think there's a resharper, little bullets and run them here. So if I'm using secrets though, that might work just fine. Instead of all these JSON files. That might be the way to go. In fact, why don't I go ahead and, although I'm very happy getting this working, to go to the docs, I'm going to create another ticket. Consider, let's see, let's just call this CI. consider switching, consider removing JSON app settings. Okay, and I'll make this into a issue. Use GitHub. Use a combination of secrets, user secrets, plus GitHub workflows running locally to remove the need for app settings, .json, etc. Okay, and I'm going to call that an enhancement. Alrighty. Okay, so now the next thing is, of course, to document this. And what the heck does this mean for someone who's trying to get up and running on this project for the first time? So I will bring up the README file here. And so I had this app settings JSON. It's still there for now. We'll call that option 1. Option 2 creates, let's see, add user secrets to Conduit, Conduit tests and Conduit migrations. That's going to be following the secrets.json template, following secrets.json.template example. Is that enough information? That's not really conduit.web configuration though. This is more in line with configure conduit.tests and conduit.migrations for both. This is not really option 1 or 2. So this is the web project. I'm not using secrets in there just yet. I may do that in the future. So with tests and migrations, I'm using secrets instead of the integration tests JSON file that I had in there, right? Yes. Okay, that's good. All right, this needs to go to 5. Is that enough documentation for that, or do I need to add anything else in there, do you think? Maybe a link to what user secrets are, because I wasn't really aware of how that worked until today. But I think it's probably good enough for now. Anything else needs to be updated while we're here? Project organization. I actually called this users, not user. Fakes units integration. Was there anything else there in tests? Extensions. Oh, yeah, extensions. This is for tests of base level extensions in the conduit.web project. There's just one there for now. There might be in the future, more in the future. NoSQL migrator is being streamed live on Twitch. Anything else while I'm at it? Create Couchbase, configure Couchbase. Probably, yeah, make a note of you should use a separate bucket for integration testing, since integration tests will run down migrations and destroy anything in the bucket. Yep, that's a good important note. Like, don't use the same bucket. This is until I switch to Docker or hopefully switch to Docker. That won't be an issue anymore. But for right now, it is an issue, so I have to document that. So this is also updated. You can use Postman exercise the endpoints. You can also use the generated Swagger UI to exercise the endpoints. Okay, I think that's good. Good document update. And this was number 6. Updated documentation after, to include GitHub workflow related info. Documentation is very critical. It's good to do it as you go so you don't end up with a bunch of technical debt. Having to catch up to documentation. So look like that push I just did triggers another integration test, which I didn't change anything but the README, so that should pass just fine. But I wanted to go back to here and done. Look at that. We've got quite a lot of stuff done here. Making great progress, and I'm very happy with the CI/CD setup now, so that even if I forget to run my tests locally, GitHub's still going to catch anything that's failing, which that's great. There's actually one more thing I can do that might be cool. Is if I can bring this up here. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So there is a way to add badges to, I got open in 2 places here? Yeah. Add badges to a README to show if the tests are passing or not, or the CI completed successfully or not. And so the way you do this is open up README, and where'd be a good place to put it? I usually use Visual Studio Code for editing my READMEs. I'm thinking maybe like right under this, put some badges right here, right before how it works. And so what you do is something like this. URL like that, and then another URL here. And so what you do is you go to the workflow here, CI YAML, and it's not exactly that, but I would say this, and then I would say, in fact, I might be able to get this URL a different way. Man, I gotta quit. I have so many windows. Okay, if I go back to actions here, no, this one right here. I take that URL, I put it there, and if I take most of that and put it here. So what I'm creating here in Markdown, and I could just say this is CI build status. So this is a kind of an embedded link that has an image as part of it, which contains a badge that shows the build status or the success or fail status of an issue. So if I could just take this, I think this will work if I paste this directly into a browser. Conduit integration tests passing. And so if they're failing, that badge will show up differently, and it will link to the actual action. So if I click on the link, it'll go here, which again directly in a browser takes me to here. So let's put that badge in there so that just at a glance you'll see if the workflow status is failing or not. So do another commit here. Added badge to README. for CI workflow. Push. You know, whenever I see an open source project with all those cool badges, I'm always kind of envious of those. And so we're making a step in that direction. So yet another workflow run. What? Then did I screw up the markup? Gosh, I should have used Visual Studio Code for the markup, so I can see the preview of it. Let's open that folder. Okay, and then open up this README. And you can do a preview here in VS Code. This is probably possible in what's it called, Visual Studio as well. But what is wrong with this markup? What did markdown. What did I do wrong here? Probably missing a. Oh wait! I think I know what it is. This needs to go. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. Failing. Why is it failing? It was just right. What? That's not good. It was just working. Now it's failing. Well, intermittent success is just as bad as failure. Something gets screwed up here with the state. Is this a Fluent migrator? Or, sorry, not Fluent migrator, NoSQL migrator issue? No, seems like it's fine. Shield.io is good for other variations of badges too. You know, I was looking into that a couple weeks ago, and the site was down. Okay, seems like it's back up now, but it was down for a period of time. So yeah, I can add some more badges to this at some point. I don't know why this test failed. That makes me unhappy. But let's try it again. Now that I've fixed the README. Hopefully, fix the README. Let me get out of this. Okay, so that works. Fix the badge. Too many commits. That's okay. This will give me a chance to run those tests again. If they're intermittently failing, that's a problem. Key space not found. It's almost like the migration didn't work. Like this part right here, like it didn't actually work. But let's try it again, see if it runs. Because this could be a problem in the long run if it's intermittent. Something's wrong with my setups or migrations or something. So let's see what happens. We've got quite a lot of viewers today. How's everybody doing out there? People lurking. Say hello. What's going on? If you're interested in some stuff to keep you occupied, you can always play around with the bot here. Another fail. Is it the same error? Key space not found. Huh. Alright, well I'm going to just mess with this a little bit more. Like so. I'm going to run this locally and see what's going on here. Why would this fail when it was working? It's working just fine. Now it's failing. Okay, passing. Let's run it again. Passing. Run it again. Let's see, which one was it? Login request handler. Let's try that one specifically. Maybe there's something wrong with that specific test. Login request handler. Passing. Let's do a rebuild just to make sure. So if you weren't here for some of these, the way these tests work is they have this base class, integration test, which means for setup, it's going to go out to a Couchbase bucket and set it up by running the migrations on it, which means it's going to make sure the collections exist, the indexes exist that are needed for these integration tests. Then it runs these tests. Notice here that getting service collection specific to this test, but that's not important. And then they will tear down, which means it'll go back and destroy all this. It'll run the down migrations to make sure any of those collections and data that was in there gets rolled back to nothing. I'm curious if one of the things that might be happening, and this would be unfortunate, is it running those migration tests in parallel? If so, they could definitely be interfering with each other. I don't think they would. That I wouldn't want that to be the default behavior. We could certainly check. Yeah, I don't because it's just running a .NET command. So I don't know, .NET. What was it again? It was .NET test. Running in parallel. Let's just eliminate this as a possible issue. Like I'm assuming the default behavior is not run in parallel. There's no way to pass flags .NET. How old is this? This is pretty old. Yeah, parallel assembly defaults to false. Okay, I would assume that would be the case. .NET test. What about N units? Does that make any difference? In parallel. Let's see. X units, yeah. There's an option. Okay. Hopefully that's the default behavior, is not running in parallel. Which, I mean, seems to be the case locally. I don't see why it would be different on GitHub. But this is failing. Well, okay, but this one's passing. That's the weird thing. This is an integration test. It's passing. The second one is not. That makes me think it's some sort of parallel issue. Or somehow it's starting this before the teardown happens. Index failure exception. Login. Like it's not. Key space not found. See, it's redacted this for security reasons, I'm sure. Teardown failed in the login handler request. What if I run these all together? Test Explorer. I'm going to get the same issue. Because one is working, the second one's not. That's what's happening in GitHub. They're all passing here. And they're all going to pass here too, right? If I just do .NET tests, running them the same way they're being run in GitHub workflow. Version 7. Yeah, it's working fine. So what is the problem, GitHub workflow? Let me just double check those secrets. Somewhere. Where is my project at? Too many windows. Too many windows. Okay. Take this off the screen because I'm looking at secrets. Secrets. Oh, I can't see what's in there currently. It won't show me the secrets. That's interesting. Just double check that I have the right bucket name here. I don't think that would be an issue, but it's worth trying. Conduit integration tests. Let me just double check these migrations as well. So this first one is, that's going to be users. It's coming from an environment variable. That's going to be default. It's going to create the collection in the default, or delete the collection in the default. Index, users, default, creating the index in the default scope, users, on that field, creating an index and deleting the index. Same name from the default scope from the users collection. I don't think there's a problem with these migrations. That doesn't need to be there. Yeah, that can be removed, but that's not related. I didn't make a typo or anything, did I? Again, I shouldn't. That would cause it to fail locally, though, I would think. Okay, and migrate base. It's just going to pull from environment variables or secrets. Integration test. Couchbase integration test. So it's going to get the config, connect to the cluster. That seems to be working, at least for the first one. Does the bucket exist? If it does not, then we just fail. But that's not the error that's happening. Then it connects to the buckets, runs the migrations down, first of all, just to be safe, which if there's no data in there, it's not going to do anything. Run the migrations up, and then create some DI objects. Okay, then it'll run the tests, arrange, act, assert, fine. Teardown is going to again run the migrations down just to clean up, make sure there's nothing there, and then dispose. It all seems right, and it's running locally just fine. So what is the problem out here on the workflow? Because again, it was working. See, these are passing. What doesn't it like? What's it not happy about? In the one-time setup, index failure, key space not found. It seems like it's trying to create an index, but there's no users collection there to create an index on. That does not make sense to me. Like it's some sort of race condition or something. Let's run it again. How do we run this again? Is there no way to manually run this? Rerun it? Rerun jobs, there we go. Rerun all jobs. Okay. Okay, so I've done that. Works fine. Dependencies, that's going to be just fine. You hitting a timing thing, race condition, etc. on the tasks. Throw some sleeps in there. LOL. Oh my goodness. What? I mean, where would I put the sleeps though? That's the thing. Okay, so here's the tests. Okay, there's the first integration test. Passing. There's the next one passing. So it's got to be a race condition of some sort. But what could it possibly be? So now it's going to work just fine. Not good. Not good at all. Well, I don't want to spend a lot more time on this right now. Something I'll have to come back and revisit later. But clearly there's some sort of race condition happening with these tests. Integration tests are always a problem. Why do they always got to act up? I mean, I'm concerned it might be some sort of race condition with, you know what it might be? You know what it might be? Is this might be an issue with my migrator. Right here, creating a collection. All right? Next step, create an index on the collection. If, for some weird issue, collections are not very heavyweight. They should not take that long. But if there is, for some reason, the collection's not ready, the index might fail on creating that. But it seems like it's happening in the teardown, though. So this passed, this failed. No, it's in the one-time setup. Okay. Okay, it is in the setup. That could be it. Is there a wait for collection? That I don't know. Let me just check the API real quick. Where's one of my handlers? Users. Get current user handler. So this is where our collection is, right? Yeah. Is there something like await collection? No, not await collection. Await dot collection dot. There's not a wait for collection. You know, is collection ready? There is not that setting there. I don't think there would be. That would seem like a very quick operation. Like practically atomic. I don't know the underlying details. But for instance, like bucket does take some time to spin up. Cluster takes some time to spin up. So there are wait methods for that. There's not, as far as I know, a wait method for collection. So if what you're saying, Calvin, is throw some sleeps in there, might be a good idea to sleep after create collection. Or some sort of check, like in the underlying Fluent migrator, or again, not Fluent migrator, NoSQL migrator code to do a wait or some sort of check to make sure that actually happened. I don't want to be throwing thread.sleeps into all these. So this might be an underlying migrator issue. Okay, that's my current working hypothesis. Time to add that as an issue, so I don't forget. And this is going to be a high priority issue, I think. Wait, check for collection, and probably scope as well. Exponential backoff, yeah, something like that. So it's possible that collections are not ready immediately. After creation, add some code to check. Hey, what's up, Surly Poly? What's Poly? Is that a tool to do exponential backoff? Add some code to check to make sure collection is ready and scope before continuing. Or investigate if there's an API to check for scope collection readiness. This might be a HTTP endpoint. I don't see one in the .NET SDK. Okay, this is going to be a bug potentially, and yeah, create this issue. What is Poly? Why are you talking about it? Carl Franklin's company steward it, I believe. Okay. Transient fault handling library. Developers to express policy. Okay, so this is what you're talking about. Maybe use Poly for that, is what you're saying. Perhaps use Poly for this? Might be a good tool to use for that, instead of writing my own try, catch, for loop. Poly is great, says Calvin. Interesting. Okay, well, that might be something I'll add to that project in the future. But that's my working hypothesis right now, is that Fluent or NoSQL Migrator is currently not doing any sort of check to make sure collections and scopes are ready, and therefore the next step, when there's a index trying to be created on that collection, it's not there. And that would explain why it's sometimes working and sometimes not, because it would be a race condition type of situation. You used it your last job for HTTP retries because the API was crap. It sounds like the kind of thing that we built, okay, this is several jobs ago, for a very unreliable database ORM service. DataObjects.net, if anyone remembers that from back in the day. Seems like a fine library, but the way it was set up and configured at this certain client, it was very unreliable, like coin flip unreliable. So we had to wrap everything in a bunch of loops and checks. Literally every time we touched the database, we had to do those checks. And that is what led me to discover aspect-oriented programming. Because if everything's got to be wrapped in this, then we got to write that over and over and over again. Or we could write an aspect once and put the aspect on everything, touch the database. So sounds like Poly would be the tool to put in the aspect in that case. Or in my case, I could use it in my migrator tool. But I'm going to explore that. What I want to do now is we got about a half an hour left. I want to see if I can crank out another feature instead of focusing on this intermittent issue, which is very bizarre, but it might be because, so I'm running these integration tests against Couchbase Capella, which is running in the cloud. It's running in, I think, the East AWS data center, East US. So all these tests, if I run them locally, they have to go from my computer all the way up to AWS East. However, GitHub, I don't think they're using AWS. I doubt they are. But they are probably in a data center that has closer access to AWS than me, so lower latency, which means that any of those run conditions will become more common if there's lower latency. So that's my working hypothesis. We'll see. I'm going to investigate that other places. But I want to get another endpoint going. So the next one up is Git profile. So let's bring that in here. Let me make sure I have everything committed though first. What did I change here? Oh yeah, I removed some using statements. Okay, that needs to be rolled back. So this is just general cleanup of using statements. Don't need to assign that to an issue. GitHub is all Azure now. So yeah, I assumed it's all Azure. It might have been AWS before or not. I have no idea. Oh, you know what? Actually, I think I am running my that's probably I'm running my GitHub or my Capella. It's not on. Where is it? Yeah, it is on Azure. So if GitHub is also running in Azure US East, that would explain extraordinarily low latency between GitHub Actions and Capella compared to my computer, which is in Ohio, not Virginia, so there's some extra latency. That could explain why it is surfacing those race conditions, which is good to know. Working hypothesis. I'll get to that. Okay, get profile, new endpoints. All right, so here is all the information that the Conduit spec gives me. It's a URL, get API profiles, specified username, and it returns a profile. Now, a profile is different than a user because this is meant to be consumed by anybody. Anybody can see anyone else's profile. Profiles are public. So I can't see your token, obviously. I can't see your password, but I can see your username, bio, image, and sounds logical. And this following. So what's the following mean? Whether I'm following that user or not. So I don't have anything in terms of followers implemented yet. So maybe this isn't the right one to bring in. Maybe it's follow user. Well, that returns a profile. So I've got kind of a catch-22 here. I'm going to have to implement following with, I'm not going to be able to implement following just yet. So let's start with get profile, because profile is what's going to be needed. Although, let me think about that. Yeah, because profile does include following. So it is kind of a circular bit here. So let's just start with this. All right, and this is also going to be, this is related to user, so I think we're going to leave it in the same slice here, in the same controller. Now, one weird thing about this is it says authentication optional. What does that mean? What I think that means is basically I don't care if they're authenticated or not. It should work either way. But I would assume that if I'm not authenticated, it's not going to know whether I'm following this user or not. Right? So if authenticated, I'm just going to make some assumptions here. If authenticated, then profile will have following data. If not authenticated, the profile will not have following data. Or auth is optional. That's what it says, authentication optional for this endpoint. So a profile will always, I'll just say always have following as false. Yep. I think that's the only thing I can say is in terms of what the authentication optional means. So this is, imagine you go to Twitter. Let's say I'm not authenticated. I can still see that person's profile. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I can't do that anymore. Okay, well, I used to be able to see that person's profile on Twitter when I'm not authenticated. I don't know. That's kind of weird. What about... Yeah, I can't see it at all unless I'm logged in. That's different. So I think Twitter has changed something there. I'm required to be authenticated to see anything on Twitter. But in the past, I could go to Twitter, look at someone's profile without being logged in. I wouldn't know if I'm following them or anything like that because I'm not logged in. I'm going to assume that's what that means. So, okay. So authorize is optional. Yeah, so I can't have the authorized, I can't use that authorized attribute on there. Where's my, this right here. It's a get. get and API users. How do you define? Is it just curly braces? Yep, curly braces. So the username will be whatever. So action result, and this is the what's it called? Get profile. Get profile, and this will be username, which is required, of course. And then I also need the authorization, which is optional. So I'm going to pull it from the header like this. Instead of using the authorized, authorized here means that authorization is required. In this case, it is optional. So I'll still get it. It's just, the handler will or will not use it based on if it's there or not. Okay, and result equals await mediator send new get profile request with the username and the bearer token. So I need a get profile request handler, and those requests, they need to implement. So I want get profile result, which also doesn't exist yet. So this is what mediator, if you've not seen this before, I'm using mediator. Mediator, basically the way I'm using it is I need three classes. I need a request that goes to a handler. The handler is the second one. The handler takes in the request, does some action, and returns a result. And so what basically this means is that this endpoint, this ASP.NET endpoint, is just gathering info from the UI, shoving everything off to mediator, saying you do it, and then mediator says, okay, here's the result, and then ASP.NET returns that result in a following the spec way to the whoever's using the API. So get profile request needs a constructor. I'm going to call this optional bearer token just to make that clear. Yep. Okay, that's good. And then the result will be if there's any validation errors. This code is here because validation errors could be null. Turn unprocessable entity. It's really the same thing every time. Okay. And I don't have that yet, but that is, what's that? What's the type there? Validation failure? List of validation failure? Okay. It's fine. And then return OK result dot profile view. This is different than user view. So I don't have that yet either. This needs to be a profile view model. So that doesn't exist yet. So I need to create that over here in view models. This is different than user. So as I mentioned, user view model has like a token to be the main thing. Profile view model. There we go. But it might have other features in the future, right? Profile is a public view. User is the, let's just call it a private view. Okay. So there's that. So I've got the request and I've got the response classes. Now I just need the handler. This is get profile handler. And here's where I keep flailing every time I do this. So I have to go back and check get user handler. So it's I request handler, and then the first one is the request, and the second one is the result. Request, result, request, result. I got to remember that. Okay. So this is get profile request, get profile result. Okay. Good. Got it. Okay, time for some, also need a validation object, right? So this is the get profile request validator. Okay, and that inherits from what? This is abstract. abstract validator of get profile request. We want to validate the request. Whatever the user is giving us, we want to validate that. Oh, I made a typo. Gotta be a colon there. Okay. Good. What do I override for that? Oh, just a constructor. Okay. Alrighty. And all I really need to validate is that, well, that the user was specified, that the user exists, which I might not do in the validator. That might make more sense in the handler. And if there is a authentication token, then I need to look up to see if I'm following this person. That's it. Okay. So let's just start here. I need to get the profile of this user. So put the validation here later. We need a constructor. This is going to be the Conduit users collection provider. No, not that one. User. There we go. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this endpoint today. Certainly not with tests and everything, but we'll get a good start on it. And then next time I'll be back is on July the 7th, because the 4th is a holiday here. I will not be at work. I will not be streaming. I will be probably at my parents' for July 4th, but so I won't be here streaming. But there'll be other people streaming, especially the Europeans, of course. There's some sort of racket outside my office there. Hold on just a second, would you? All right. That's part of the deal with working at home. You gotta deal with stuff like that. All right, so let's see. At this point, we know the request is valid because I'll have the validation code here. So I need to look up that user. So let's just look up the user document equals await. I'll need the collection first. The collection equals get collection async needs to be await. This needs to be async as well. Okay, and then we're going to go to that collection and we're going to get by, oh, wait a second. Hold the phone. This is getting it by username, not by email address. Is email address part of the profile? It's not. So that's another thing. It's not showing the email as part of the profile. Well, this makes me think that email might have been a bad choice for the key, but because now we have to engage a SQL query to do this. But we already made that decision, so if we come back to it, I have to revisit that later. Because what I'd rather do is, for a profile view, I'd rather look it up by key, not by email, or not by SQL query. But that's okay. We can do that. Okay, request dot. Not going to be a get operation now, is it? It's going to be a SQL operation. So query equals select. I'm not going to say star. I'm not going to need star. Select u.star from. This is where I have to put in all the stuff. Yeah, I still need the bucket. Well, we need the scope equals collection dot bucket. No, scope name. Bucket equals scope dot. Huh? Oh, it's a string. Okay. Scope. Okay. Yeah. Scope dot bucket. Okay. Yes. Okay. So then, it's bucket scope collection. So we'll do bucket dot name, scope dot name, collection dot name. Selecting everything from user where u.username equals $username. And then I need to do the, we need the cluster as well. Cluster equals bucket.cluster. Because that's where the SQL queries take place, is at the cluster. So we can say var results equals await cluster query async, and it's going to be, I think I want to do dynamic. No, we're going to do user, and that's going to be the query with, oh no, I need options. Query options, because I'm going to pass in parameters. Options dot. Okay, this is always an issue with namespaces. So I do this, it's not going to, yeah, it's going to give me some crazy thing. So the namespace there is, where do I use that? Over here? No. The last time I used a SQL query is here. Couchbase query. I think that's the namespace I need. No. What is it? Where do I use parameters at? Couchbase.query. That seems to be the right place. What doesn't it like here? What is it barfing on? Query options. Yeah. Query dot. What am I doing wrong here? It's a namespace issue, I know. Couchbase.query. Oh, because okay, this is what I do. Yeah. Okay. Okay. There we go. Yeah, you can do it as Lambda as well, but let's just go with that. Query options. Oops. Query options. And username is going to be request.username, which doesn't exist there yet. This is where we're going to need to put some... Oh, no. No, nothing right now. So what is wrong with this? This needs to be... Yeah, this is something I didn't do. Username equals username, and we'll call it optional bearer token. I'll do the same thing for that. We'll make this get with a private set. Nope, what are you doing there? Visual Studio, get it together. Okay. All right, and this needs to be its own file. Hello, Visual Studio, let's go. All right, handler. Okay, and I'm still using request plus here. I've mentioned what that is before. I don't need to select u.star, I don't think, because all I really need for the profile is what? Username, bio, image, and following. I'll just paste that in here so I have the notes. Okay, so then it should only be one item in the result, and this is where, again, I don't really want to use a SQL query here because I'm only ever going to select one user. So I might want to rethink the whole thing of looking up by email and use username as something immutable. That way people can change their email, but they can't change their username. And if we're thinking about Twitter and Medium, that probably makes more sense, right? If I'm on Twitter, I don't change my username very often. I've never done that, in fact. Not saying that I'm the platonic ideal of a Twitter user, but I don't think usernames happen very often. So I think it's probably okay if I want to switch this to use that instead of email address. Now, email address I have switched before. I'm going to keep soldiering on here. I'll have to come back and refactor that. In fact, that's probably a misstep here. And this is important because if I want to help people in the future build out projects like this, then I've already been through this process of if we're using Couchbase, what's the best approach. So I'm going to switch to use username for document key instead of email. Okay. Let's have to move up a little bit. I don't want to get too far along. I'm going to move this auth issue down farther. Or not auth issue, but yeah, I guess it's kind of related to auth. Oh no, that's a different thing. Okay, move that back up. The issue I was wondering was yeah, this, okay. All right, so why do I want to do this? Seems like username is a better choice for a document key, especially since endpoints like, is there any others that use username? So this one does, follow, unfollow, get. Yeah. Okay. Since endpoints follow, unfollow, and get profile all have username in their URL, email is much less likely. Username is going to be username is going to be used more for lookups than email. Using a key value operation in Couchbase is faster than a SQL query if the result is only ever supposed to be one user profile. So therefore, refactor to use key value more often. Okay. So that's a bummer that I have to go back and do that. But it's important for performance scaling reasons to use the right operation. I'll still be using SQL++ in this project, just I want to use it as little as possible because it does add more overhead and it just makes more sense. But anyway, let's finish this one out here. Yeah, so this should only ever return one result, right? So result equals await results dot to list async. What is the problem with that? Oh, cancellation token, that's fine. And should only ever be one result. Results, so, oh wait, what is this? Result list, we'll call that 1 or 0 results. Result equals result list dot first or default. Okay, and then if it's not found, then we can just say, hey, user's not there. Although, do I do it here or do I do it in a validation? I think if I do it in validation, we're kind of duplicating effort. So I think I should do it here. So if user not found, then we're going to return new get profile results with just user not found equals true. So that is something that is not there. Back in the user controller, that needs to be one of these, needs to be processed. If result.user not found, then I'm also going to return unprocessable entity. Should I put a message? So this is again back to, do I want to expose, how much do I want to expose of my data to some random attacker? If I have a different error message here, then attacker is going to know that user does exist. So then I can further narrow down my attack. But I think I'm probably okay to say something like just invalid user name, perhaps, or username not found. Okay. Back to the handler. Okay, so equals true. Oh, this needs to be an if statement. If result is null, then return that. Okay, and let's just, tighten that up a little bit. Okay, otherwise I do want to return that user. And so I'm going to return new get profile result, where the profile view equals new profile view model, and map all those things over. And that can stay false, the other one can stay null. That's the only one I care about is that. So with the profile, I want the username, bio, image, following, and the last thing is not email, right? Were those only ones? Yes. Okay. So result in this case is a user. Yes. Okay. So result.username, result.bio, result.image. This might be a place that people would start to use some tool like AutoMapper to do these kind of left-right things. If I had more complex domain models or views, I might want to do that. But I'm okay with this for now. It's really not that much extra typing. The following is interesting here. I don't have any sort of following code yet. So this needs to be revisited, basically. But for right now, I'll just set it to false. Determine following or not. So I don't have that information stored yet. There's no follow or unfollow endpoints, so we can just say we're following false for now. I don't want to throw an exception here because it's always going to make this fail, but I don't have enough information yet to finish this endpoint, so I might have to bring in the follow endpoint and finish those together. Anyway, I think that'll do it. Anyway, we're at time now. It's about noon here for me. It's lunchtime. I'm going to shut it down. Thanks for joining today. Thanks for some great conversations. Calvin, Surly Dev, who was it? Napalm. Napalm was here. Napalm 684. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great holiday weekend or just a great weekend in general. And I'll see you next Friday, 1 week from today, where I will be continuing to work on the Conduit Real World project. So let's go ahead and find a team member to raid. So we got me and the Grumpy Game Dev. So it looks like we're going to raid the Grumpy Game Dev. Not Surly Game Dev, Grumpy Game Dev. So we'll start that raid, the Grumpy Game Dev. I hope you'll join me over there for a few minutes. Say hello to the Grumpy Game Dev. Be nice to him, even though he's grumpy. And that's it for this stream. So hope you all have a good weekend and take it easy.